This is Mustafa Hagad from the Student Union Education team. I'm one of those people who are gonna deliver lectures about political thought. And before going through our thinkers' ideas today, I want actually to stress and focus on one main point before going through explanation and discussion about our thinker today, which is really important, guys. These videos is made only for an introduction. It's tips. It's like a push for you in order to make the studying process easier. من الآخر كده, it's for الزنقة and to make such an introduction for a thinker and his ideas. So please don't depend on these videos only, but go through the thinker, open the book, and study hard. And don't depend on these videos only, guys. Thank you. So, before starting, we're going to actually divide our presentation into two main parts. The first part is about the context of our thinker today, which is John Stewart Mill. His background, his context, from where did he come, how his background affected his thoughts, and all that stuff. And the second main part is contributions and ideas and thoughts, which will be divided into three main parts: the utilitarianism dimension, and the representative government, and his thoughts and ideas, which is really important, about liberalism. So, as we said, we have actually to introduce our thinker today, which is John Stewart Mill, his background and his context. So, a brief introduction about John Stewart background. He was born in London. He learned Greek, Latin. He was interested in history, literature, art, and philosophy. He was one of the most important thinkers in the 19th century, probably the most important English thinker one, and definitely a liberalism pioneer. His father, James Mill, was much affected of the utilitarianism approach. We see that his father was really focusing on building his son's mentality on the utilitarianism thinking, on the utilitarianism theory. So, we're going to talk about someone who is a liberalism pioneer. His thought is really affected by the liberalism theories, as we will see today. So, going to the second part of our presentation, of our thinker today, John Stewart Mill, which is the utilitarianism. The utilitarianism, as we said, that John Stewart Mill in his early ages was a utilitarian defender. But the question raises, what is utilitarianism is? The utilitarianism is simply an action, is right, as it promotes happiness for the greatest number of people. So, when he reached 20s, he went through a very tough experience, which he called it a crisis in my mental history, in which he turned totally from being a utilitarian defender to a liberal pioneer. He has two main criticisms for the utilitarianism approach. The first one is that the utilitarianism is focusing on people as numbers, as quantity, and ignoring totally the quality. So they are focusing on the quantity of people, how much numbers of people willing to do something, and they ignoring the quality of that happiness, the quality of that individual. The second main criticism is that they are considering people as the second main criticism is that the majority can do anything with the name of the majority. Even they can violate their human rights. So he focused on the individual as an individual having human rights and natural rights that cannot be violated by any means. So he said that it's not a matter of numbers, it's not a matter of 1 versus 10 or 2 versus 12, but it's a matter of an individual that you can do as a majority, as a society, you can do whatever you want, but keep away from my natural rights. So, continuously, we're going to talk about the second point of our second main part, which is on liberty. Mill actually in that field was a truly contributive thinker. Mill raised such a great questions, went to the core of democracy as a government and a way of life. He said that a society is not completely free. If the freedom of an opinion is not guaranteed, a society is not completely free. And he said literally, if all mankind minus one were of one opinion, and only one person were of the contrary opinion, mankind would be no more justified in silencing that one person than he, if he had the power, would actually silence all the mankind. So he was actually focusing and stressing on the power of the idea itself, not the force behind it. So he believed that an idea, an opinion, should be tested. How it should be tested? It should be tested by a challenge, a discussion. So if it is strong enough, it will stand and it will prove that this idea is strong enough and it's true. And maybe actually a correct idea, a good opinion to be taken in consideration. But actually silencing people's opinions proves that your idea is very, very weak. Or you can actually challenge other ideas in order to prove that your idea is the best. So that actually the core of the idea that he meant. After that, so Mill particularly warns against the blind acceptance of any opinion because it's not the absolute truth. You cannot guarantee that a certain person has the absolute truth or a certain group has the absolute truth. So, if you're assuming that our opinion is the absolute truth, in itself, this assumption is a matter of opinion. So the philosophy is very, very interesting in knowing that the idea of itself that a one person or a certain group that cannot have the absolute truth all the time. And he has summed up his liberal principle. He summed up his liberal principle at the end, saying the only purpose for which power can be rightfully exercised over any member of civilized society is to prevent harm to others. So he was actually focusing and summing up his ideas on liberty in a very simple sentence, which is do whatever as a government, do whatever as a state, do whatever as a majority, but keep away of my natural rights, as we mentioned before. My freedom of speech, my freedom of belief, and my expression of my different opinions in different issues. So, again, to the last point of our presentation, which is representative government. Mill was in favor of what we call today the representative democracy, which people can manage and So, going through. Okay. So, going to the last point of our presentation today, which is the representative government. Mill was in favor of what we call today the representative democracy, in which people manage and organize their public affairs through an elected government under the supervision of an elected representatives of the people, in which we can call that they form a form of parliament. He stressed on the role of the parliament as a supervision rule, not a legislative one. So he meant that the parliament is correcting the government behavior and policies and preventing them getting out of the track of the people's benefits and wealth. On the other hand, he was stressing on letting the space for the minority to express their beliefs, opinions, ideas, as I said before, because no one has the absolute truth, and their opinions must be or may be partly true or maybe totally true. However, he emphasized the point of the role of experts inside any parliament, because we always face a lack of experience regarding the representatives of people. ما أعرفش حاجة. He emphasized the role of the experts inside the parliament, in which always we face. ما أنت فصلتيني يعني أقول لك إيه. On the other hand, he was totally against the dictatorship by any means, and he said that no one can actually hold the people's responsibility in one hand by one person. So he was actually with what we call today the parliamentary system, or that's how I think that he was. On the other hand, he was stressing on the role of the experts inside any parliament, as we face all the time a lack of experience from the representatives of people. So the role of experts is coaching and mentoring the representatives' behaviors and policies. So guys, we came to the end of the presentation of our thinker today, John Stewart. I hope that it was interesting. It was tiny helpful for you to introduce you to the thoughts and ideas of men. Thank you very much, and see you soon.